We launched the company in 2006. I was the missionary set with the aim of putting bleep boxes into the hands of every customer. As the decades have rolled by, I can proudly say I've achieved that goal, steamrolling my competitors in the process. You can't go 5 minutes without seeing a bleep box these days. Even though I sank every calorie of my body into that company, my own job is under threat. It seems we invented the perfect product. No updates are required down the line, cheap to manufacture, and is positively indestructible. It's perfect from all sides. By designing a product with no blemishes or faults, we were killing ourselves by not letting the product die. So much like every day for the past month, I would commute home from work in my Savile Row suit, thinking about the inevitable loss of my own job and thousands of others, until the acrid and bitter scent of burning plastic started filling the air. Emitting this industrial smell was a palm tree dripping with molten, crusted plastic. Every semblance of colour was singed off by the soft flames, replaced with a deep black, like the crust that forms on the surface of lava or burnt toast. To my right were a couple, also observing the fire, glancing over at me with uneasy eyes as though they were expecting me to do something about the flames. Turning to them casually, I asked, "What's happening?"
It's a solar panel design.
At this point, she was interrupted by what I presumed was her partner.
It's a solar panel designed to look like a palm tree. The leaves convert sunlight into electricity similar to photosynthesis. Seems to have been faulty, sparking, and ultimately catching fire.
Ignoring both his intense glare and frankly bizarre in-depth working knowledge of solar-powered palm trees, I clocked out of the corner of my eye one of those 6 packs of whiskies which you can buy in supermarkets with high ceilings. Inspecting it closer, I realised that 2 bottles were gone, possibly out at sea and stuffed with an SOS letter, or more likely, in an industrial landfill site.
What are you looking at? It's my whiskey, not yours. It's not the government's, it's not the repo man's. It's my whiskey and mine alone. Don't you touch it with your filthy little spindle fingers.
Do I look like the sort of person who would steal whiskey from someone in the middle of the street? I exclaimed whilst his spittle pummeled my brow like liquid buckshot every time he spoke.
Well, I suppose not. You can't trust anyone these days, can you? Especially not a man in an ill-fitting suit. Like you.
With that, the pair ejected from the conversation, turning around with purpose, only to walk a few steps, then realise they forgot their whiskey, then dashing to retrieve it and give me one last glare. From personal experience, the guy was quite right. You can't trust a man in an ill-fitting suit, but neither can you trust a man who's indecisive about their own hairstyle, although I have no anecdotal evidence to back up this claim. So before questioning if buying a new suit would make me more credible or not, I decided it would be best to take a trip down to the riverbank. It's a place that makes up my internal landscape. I would never admit this to my employees, but I'm a mudlarker. Since I was young, I've been coming down to these shores in search of buried fragments of history. Mundane objects become intimate bridges to the past and windows to our ancestors. For instance, take this King George II farthing. When I hold it, I can feel every wallet the coin has been in, and every object bought using. It was those circus freaks again. What were they doing? Interacting with them for the second time was not on the agenda. If I don't acknowledge them, they won't acknowledge me. We have an unspoken mutual agreement not to make conversation. This wasn't the case, of course. The woman approached me with the gentle footsteps of a leopard, before rearing up to say,
Can you please stop following us? Look, I don't know who you are or who you work for, but your head resembles the glint of a well-polished snooker ball.
Sorry to let you down so bluntly, but I'm not following you.
So you're telling me that you're walking around on the bank of a river, scanning the ground for pretty pebbles?
Actually, I'm here for a highly specific reason. I'm a mudlarker.
Mudlarking? Is that the best your imagination can actually come up with?
Mudlarking is a very serious and very real pastime. We go around silty pastures looking for treasure. Take, for instance, this King George II farthing.
I don't have time for this.
She slinked off unwaveringly to her male counterpart, who was staggering around the large boulders of concrete and rebar which adorned the Thames bank. I stood still for a brief moment, mulling over the conversation, letting the city air wheeze across me, until, from afar, I spotted the same six-pack of whiskey I noticed earlier in the day, except this time only 3 bottles were remaining. Simultaneously, a waft of burning plastic filled my nostrils, as the smell was still clinging to my suit. At this moment, I realised why they were here, and why they were acting so hostile. They were a pair of industrial saboteurs, hired to execute a series of hit-and-run attacks upon products made by rival energy companies. Obviously, a series of flaming solar-powered palm trees would not be neglected by the press, thrusting the rival company's stock into freefall. They've come to the river in order to rid themselves of the evidence and personal guilt. In the grand tradition of London's criminal underworld, this vein of water allows them to keep on living. Bloated and waterlogged corpses, weapons tainted by murder, clothes stained by blood. Water hides all these traces. A second wave of revelation hit me. What if, say, we were to turn the destruction on ourselves, on our company, and still get a positive result? We can't sell any of our bleep boxes anymore. Everybody already has them. So what if we were to reverse this? Hiring people to go around and sabotage our own products. Not with fire. Rather, whilst people weren't looking, jab and twist a screwdriver around in the wires and circuitry of the bleep box, essentially disabling them. Then, the consumer would be forced to buy a new box. With this, I could save the company. I sprinted over to them before they were able to leave. Clearly the man was drunk. His steely gaze had become rusted away by the alcohol, corroding him from the inside out, allowing for the man's tongue to run freely. And soon, he was slurring and dribbling words of truth.
Hey, at least hear us out.
Don't you fucking dare.
It's over. He obviously knows.
I suppose it is. We can't carry on like this.
Today, I was fired from my job. I was manager at one of the bleep box factories. For the last few months, the factory has turned into a warehouse with sacks of bleep boxes filling every room. It wasn't sustainable, but having so many of them around me started to make me sick out my eyes. I even hid my personal bleep box in a cupboard we rarely use, so I didn't have to look at it. But today I came home and I took it out and I began screaming at the thing. I've had enough of you! I've had enough of you! I've had enough of you! And that's when it started laughing. I can still hear it echo in my head now.
Ha, 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 ha.
The cackling was incessant, non-stop. So I began kicking it, expecting if I stomped on the object hard enough, it would break, crack open, something. But the laughter carried on. That's when my girlfriend arrived home from the shops with a 6-pack of whiskey. Within half an hour of finding out I had lost my job, and the continuous manic laughter of the cube, she began stamping on the bleep box too. Filled with rage, I grabbed a bottle of whiskey and began dousing the box with it, proceeding to take out a match to set the cursed speaker alight. As the flames grew larger, the laughter grew louder. The searing heat emboldened the cube rather than destroying it. Next thing we knew, we were pouring whiskey onto the floor and our own solar tree, using every matchstick in the packet.
So why are you guys here then?
We thought it would be dramatic coming down to the river and talking about how we burnt down our house. But instead we were just greeted by flies and mud.
Also, if you were so annoyed at the box when it started laughing, why didn't you just throw it out?
Oh, well, we didn't really consider that option. I suppose we could have done that, couldn't we?
Yeah, we probably should have done that.
So, if you're going to arrest us, go right ahead. But know that we were forced to do what we did.
I'm not here to arrest you. Even if I wanted to arrest you, I don't even think I'd know how to.
Well, why are you here talking to us then?
Mudlarking brought me here, but I'm not quite sure why I'm talking to you.
Mudlarking?
Yes, mudlarking. I'm not going through it again. I've tried to explain it enough times today. But you know what? Just go away. I'm really tired of looking at your faces.
Come on. You were the one who started talking to us.
Fuck this guy.
Your face is just as stupid as ours, you know. No. Oh, wait.
Pop. They were gone. In the following days, more people were losing their jobs at my company, eventually even me. I've now been succeeded by an AI automated email, which only responds to questions about the history of the company. These days I meander around my house, using my bleep box occasionally. My ill-fitting suit is still in my wardrobe, and no matter how many times I try to wash it, the smell of burning plastic doesn't disappear. But once every blue moon, I take it out, put it on, and look at myself in the mirror, pretending I'm getting ready for work.